Hi and welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm going to be looking at some love notes from your person. This is going to be a message cards only reading, and there are 3 groups to choose from. Group 1 is this Quartz cluster. Group 2 is the Celestite. And group 3 is the Stichtite. So if you want to take a moment to center, focus on your breathing, and feel whichever group, maybe multiple groups, or perhaps all of the groups that you're most drawn to. I'll give you a minute to make your selection, and then we'll get right into it. And there are timestamps in the description box of the video for each group if you would like to jump ahead, which I do recommend using so that you can skip over me shuffling cards in between groups to clear the energy of the group I've just read for and tap into the energy of the group I'm about to read for. So again, I'll give you a minute. Please use the timestamps and we'll get into your reading. Hi, Group 1. You chose the Quartz cluster. So let's see, what does your person want you to know from their higher self right now? Okay, and they say, I have unwittingly sabotaged our connection. So this person is sitting in a lot of regrets over maybe something that they said, the way that they handled things in the situation, a bit of overwhelm that could have ensued from the dynamic between you. And instead of asking for some space, setting up appropriate boundaries, really communicating what they were feeling, they may have just pushed you away or ghosted you or been very reactionary. And they've been sitting with that. They've been sitting in that feeling, looking back on that. Kind of this energy of now that some degree of agitation or triggering has somewhat settled down, there's been some time and space for them to gain some perspective, they're having some regrets about how they handled this situation. That maybe what they said to you, the tone of voice that they used, the way that they handled the situation, it didn't come out the way that they wanted it to. The results, the aftermath, the pain that they have put you through, that they are able to really feel and pick up on from afar. It's sending a message home to them that is very informative. This is very illuminating for them, to where they're at this point of kind of having no choice but to take responsibility in this situation, to own what they have really contributed to in terms of the dynamic between you, and then also reflecting upon maybe some tendencies of this nature in other areas of their life, other situations where they've been really unfair to somebody, or they've been very impulsive in their actions or behavior. And so this feels like a teaching time for them, a lot of reflection that is happening, kind of coming up with a plan and a strategy to do better in the future, to really work through some unresolved traumas and wounds and triggers within themselves in order to kind of generate a momentum that is more balanced moving forward, so that if the opportunity presents itself in the future to reconcile with you, that they're coming from more of a balanced place within themselves, some reflection that has been done, some growth that has been done, that they are understanding at this point needs to be done in order to repair this connection and to even just experience different results moving forward with other relationships in their life, kind of moving out of that energy of self-sabotage and into compromise, into expressing themselves, expressing their emotional needs, expressing any kind of discomfort or a sense of vulnerability, a sense of things being triggered or wounds being approached by levels of intimacy or a particular type of interaction. And they also say, I want a new beginning with you. So this is that energy of reconciliation, somebody who in this period of time that they're really reflecting on what has taken place, their role in all of this, some kind of distorted tendencies within them to operate out of their shadow aspects, a very reactionary and avoidant energy that might have been coming from them in the past. They've gained some insight, some clarity about that. There's a desire to start fresh with you and in other areas of their life, but then this understanding as well that work is required on their part, that to come back in at this point in time, harboring those same energies, still kind of carrying with them these unaddressed or unhealed wounds that they may just be starting to really look at and acknowledge and recognize at this point in time, that to come back in now before this kind of inner alchemy has taken place would just yield more of the same results or a great potential of that. So there's kind of this energy of somebody who's come to this realization. They want a new beginning, but they're holding back because they understand that there are still steps that need to occur before they are able to kind of get from where you stand now to where they would like things to move in the future. And we have silent treatment. So this can really tie into this element of this person ghosting you, of maybe having difficulty expressing their feelings, expressing, when things are uncomfortable or overwhelming for them. They may just have a tendency to kind of avoid these things, stuff them down, push these things away. And this is really tying in also with the silence that exists between the both of you. Even if this is someone still in your life that may have just kind of pulled back energetically, in that kind of stillness, in that chasm that has now developed or been created between you, there is introspection that is happening. This feels like somebody that has a lot of aspects of themselves, a lot of unprocessed kind of heartbreak that they've been holding on to, a lot of unprocessed disappointment, a lot of distortions as far as their self-image, maybe even self-esteem issues, that this is work that they've been deferring for quite some time. This could be decades worth of work, things even stemming from their childhood, and they're just kind of at this very sort of beginning stage of taking inventory of everything, feeling a bit of overwhelm in that capacity as well, and recognizing there's a lot of work that they need to do. But acknowledging that, taking a look at that, owning that is an important first step to being able to kind of sift through that, move through that, feel their way through these things in order to come to terms with them and release them and kind of raise their vibration and move closer in the direction of the capacity to have some kind of meaningful new beginning with you, or to be able to provide some kind of emotional closure to you, some kind of an explanation, or to just kind of smooth things out in some way so that the connection is not left on such a sour note going forward. And we also have divine counterpart. So you could resonate as a twin flame or a twin soul. You could consider this person your divine masculine, divine feminine. And this is something, it feels that they're starting to recognize this as well, in terms of whatever even if they don't necessarily have the language to put to that, they're recognizing this connection, the circumstance that has happened with you, as very pivotal for them. There's an essence here of kind of something that had been projected by them onto you is in fact mirroring some kind of unhealed wound within themselves. They're starting to appreciate this connection, this dynamic, how whatever their actions were and whatever choices that they made or efforts that were made to kind of push you away or move away from this connection, there's been a persistence to this energy that has stuck with them. They've not just been able to kind of have this be an out of sight, out of mind situation. This is something that they've been mulling over. Somebody who's getting a lot of signs, a lot of synchronicities, a lot of dreams, maybe a lot of telepathy still happening between the two of you, to where the persistence of this, they've almost reached this point where they can no longer look away. They can no longer ignore this. It's so apparent at this point in time that they have turned their gaze in the direction of examination. And upon doing that, they're starting to recognize again just how kind of unique and rare this dynamic is, how difficult and challenging this dynamic might have been, how much has been triggered within this person. But unlike other people and situations that have triggered them in the past, to where they've just been able to compartmentalize that, sort of dismiss that, write that off, and move forward, there's something about this dynamic that sticks with them, that not only continues to be persistent in that triggering, but carries with it kind of this invitation of healing, sort of this encouragement that it's okay to look at these things. It's necessary to look at these things. It's time to look at these things, not only just for the future of this connection, but in order for this person to enter into a place of peace within themselves. A lot of things that they've been holding on to that have, been kind of these barriers and these wedges toward them experiencing fulfillment in other areas of their life, experiencing deep intimacy with other people of an emotional nature, or even, in other capacities. It feels like somebody who has really had some pretty substantial walls and barriers around themselves. They've not allowed anybody in, or they've just allowed people into kind of the peripheral of who they truly are. But something about this dynamic, even just energetically, the two of you really connecting at that soul level, really getting down to the heart of the matter, seeing and recognizing, honoring and loving each other beyond all of that distortion, beyond all of that baggage and all of that garbage that just sort of clogs things up and sort of creates this very limited perspective. And so it's something where kind of the persistence of that is that it's almost this beacon, this light that keeps shining onto that core that exists beneath this person and everything that they've done and everything that has happened to them. And it's really leading them in that direction, to focus on that, to find that, to clear away the debris, to unearth this core of themselves and bring that out more into kind of the more apparent aspects of who they are as a person and how they move through the world. They say, I hate that I hurt you. So again, this is not out of sight, out of mind. This person in this period of deep reflection, recognizing, starting to see, perhaps for the very first time and very uniquely to this situation, how somebody that might have been in this energy of just a tendency to kind of blame and to push away and to project. Something has really been kind of brought to their attention that, again, anything they might have been projecting or inflicting is really just a symptom of something within themselves that is crying out for attention. It's crying out for resolution. They're starting to recognize just how much of a wounded energy that they've been kind of putting out, sort of pushing away wish fulfillment, pushing away blessings, pushing away nurturing and healthy experiences of love in the interest of kind of maintaining that status quo of disappointment or pessimism or toxicity in romance. And so it's something that, again, this perspective that is happening, it's filling, the more they're learning about themselves and kind of digging beneath these layers and that debris, kind of picking away at that crust that they have around themselves to, again, unearth that core reality, that purity of love that exists inside of themselves, and that the two of you have really kind of activated and touched upon in a very profound way within one another. It's again bringing this sense of regret where it's motivation almost to continue this pursuit, to continue this work, to continue unearthing the best version of themselves, to continue to embody that and to realize that that doesn't exist outside of themselves. It's always been within, to allowing themselves to truly believe and understand that that core dwells within them, and allowing that to sort of take over and manifest in more pronounced and profound ways in their material world, and how they're moving through the world and how they're relating to others. And so with this feeling of kind of regret and lamentation is this desire for a new beginning, to provide some kind of closure, to provide some kind of answers, or to turn up in a different kind of energy, a more balanced energy, a more self-aware energy, a more healed energy than the individual you were dealing with previously. They also say, I have the desire to see the world with you. So this is somebody who envisions you in their future. They don't want this to be the end of the story. They don't want whatever circumstances you find yourselves in, or however things were last left between you. They don't want that to be the end of things, as they are learning more about themselves, learning more about who they are beyond their experiences, who they are beyond their actions, who they are at their most pure and central self. With that is this kind of this understanding of this divine counterpart energy. What they're seeing in themselves, it also exists in you. There's this yin-yang energy here, this very complementary energy here. This is the energy of the best friend and the lover, the teacher and the student, the advocate, and at the same time the critic. It's all of these things. It's a connection, and it's a situation that both challenges and encourages. It's something that motivates and supports. And with that understanding, even the ways in which you are energetically supporting this person from afar as they are going through this process within themselves, they desire to move forward with you in life, to move forward in that energy that you embody, that you have brought out from within them, that they are now able to recognize within you. And the more they see that within themselves, they're seeing that sameness and how complementary the two of you are. There's a desire as well with this energy of wanting to see the world, wanting to see what more can exist in this connection, what untapped potential exists in this connection that the two of you had been unable to reach previously, or again, that had been maybe sabotaged or thwarted by this person. It feels like something that, both of you really needed this experience in this time and space to be able to go within, to be able to do that excavation, to be able to do this healing within yourselves, for yourselves, so that at a future point, if your paths cross, or you choose to kind of reintroduce yourselves into one another's lives and move forward, that it's a different experience, that you're able to then see a different side of one another. You're able to see a different side of yourself as mirrored through the dynamic between you. They also say, I think often of wanting to see you. So again, this desire for reconciliation, to not leave things where they are. Also this desire to, provide some kind of closure for you, provide some kind of explanation for you, some kind of an apology that they really feel compelled to deliver, that, it's the best apology is changed action. And for some of you, this is a situation where you're not interested in allowing this person back into your life, at least not in this point of your journey, which is, that's something to be honored. That's something to be respected. You obviously have to put, your own needs and desires first, above and beyond whatever you are feeling for somebody, or whatever it is that they're presenting. If it doesn't feel right to you, that's what you need to honor. But this person, in some way, they feel that there's something else that they need to show you. There's something else that they need to demonstrate to you, regardless if it means a new start, or some kind of conclusion, tying up a loose end between the both of you. That the part of themselves that you had seen, that they had demonstrated, that they were operating in, was largely based in shadows and a very unhealed and actively wounded energy, this very reactionary energy, this very avoidant energy. They're starting to see a better part of themselves. They're starting to see a more healed version of themselves, or at least least the potential for that. And so there is this desire to, in time, when they've kind of reached a certain point in this journey within, in this journey to recognizing their own wholeness, there is this desire to show that to you as well, to demonstrate to you that this experience has not been in vain. The energy that they have touched upon with you, the impact that you have had upon them and their life has not been for nothing, that it's been very significant. It's been very crucial, a crucial catalyst in kind of getting them on the path to, again, addressing some things, some baggage that they may have been carrying around for a very long time. They also say, I have your picture saved on my phone. So they could be looking back over old pictures of the two of you. If you have social media, they could be watching you from afar, kind of this energy of nostalgia. This can also really talk about a picture that they have in their mind, maybe of, the good times that you shared, or even this picture of kind of the last experience that you had together. Maybe when they pushed you away or they ghosted, this has been burned in their mind. It's etched in them. They can't forget this. They can't avoid this as much as they've tried. They're really at this point of surrender and of acknowledging and kind of feeling into this, leaning into this to say, what's the purpose of this? What am I meant to learn from this? How can I correct whatever this feeling is of disappointment? Or conversely, what do I need to do in order to create the optimal conditions for the possibility to return to that good space that the two of you shared, if this is fond memories that they are thinking back on? And they say, your laugh means the world to me. So another reference to the world there, which is drawing my attention to the world card in tarot, which is kind of a symbol of completion, cycles that have ended, and sort of the precipice of this new beginning. And this really tying into this concept that whatever stage or phase or circumstances you and this person find yourselves in, they don't want this to be the end of the story. They want to wrap up a certain dynamic of how you've been dealing with each other, a certain stance that they have taken to this connection, a certain energy that they've projected to you and upon you in the past, in order to kind of migrate to that place of a new beginning, so that there can be a fresh experience, there can be new adventures, or you can at least see and witness and partake in however small or of a way or long of a duration in sort of this upgraded version and energy of this person. This energy here also of this joy that they get a lot of satisfaction out of your joy. They want to be a source of joy for you again. It ties in with that idea of hating that they hurt you as well. That they're really recognizing you and the light that you have brought into their life as a very healing presence. They have a lot of regrets about being the reason for your tears, the reason for your disappointment. There is this desire to do better and become better, so that they can hopefully leave a mark upon your life that is different than something in alignment with a theme of disappointment that may have been the case previously or even currently with this person. They also say, I'm sorry I ripped the rug out from under you. So this is that energy of somebody who ghosted, who just pulled away, who may have been very devastating in terms of kind of the tone of voice that they used, the manner in which they kind of spoke to you, the words that were said. There's a sense of kind of this idea of a certain a vibration or something that you two were working towards in the connection, a symbiosis that existed, and this person just completely shattering that in an instant, very unexpectedly. Perhaps very cruel or callous in the words that they used, or the manner in which they chose to kind of retreat back into that zone of fear, allowing those triggers, those wounds within them to be the deciding factor, to pull them away from this vibration of love that exists between the both of you, and back into that comfort zone, back into that place where they felt most safe, where that felt the most usual to them, where love is disappointing, or they're not good enough enough, or what they have to offer is insufficient in the long run, or love only ends up in a sense of loss. Love will only lead to, a crumbling. Love doesn't exist. Love isn't real. Any of these narratives can definitely apply to what this person's comfort zone was, and to some degree still is. And there's this energy here of what they have experienced with you, what has been awakened within them, even just through very casual interactions with you, energetically speaking, that it was opening their eyes to kind of those illusions, those narratives, those tales that they have been telling themselves, kind of a new direction, a new possibility of something different, something else. It's the idea of illusions really being shattered. And the intensity of that might have just been so much for this person at that point in time, that, again, just kind of leaning into that space of instinct to pull back from the otherness of it, to kind of push this away, almost sabotaging this connection before heartbreak could ensue, before they could be hurt by the level and intensity of love that they were feeling. They also say, I expected you to chase me. Instead, you respected me, and that confused me. So they definitely have been greatly affected by whatever you have done in this situation. Maybe this was kind of a runner-chaser dynamic for a period of time, and you have since redirected your focus. You've chosen to invest in yourself, to fill your own cup, to learn what you could from this experience, to work on your own healing, on your own empowerment, on coming to terms with these circumstances, coming to peace with this, opening up your heart to the possibility of love again with another person. All of these things, this shift and change in your vibration, even just in a sense of optimism that you may now have, that this circumstance, this dynamic, as profound as this has been, as meaningful and lasting and even perpetual as this is, you may be opening yourself to the idea that this is not all that the universe has to offer you in terms of love and companionship, and even just opening your mind to that possibility, opening up your energy to that, making these declarations, manifesting that very actively, in kind of the openness that you are displaying, the affirmations that you are saying, the intentions you are putting out there, that you're ready for love, you're ready for true love, you're ready for healthy and reciprocal love. You've worked on self-love, and now you are at the point of being ready to share that with another. All of these things, all of these actions, or just, again, vibrational shifts within you has kind of reverberated to this person. It's almost been kind of that release that has been necessary for them to really sense the absence of that energy of pursuit that may have been coming from you, even if it was just overly focusing on them, directing too much energy their way, even actively remaining in a stance of waiting, which it's a form of attachment. It creates a very, profound and heavy energy of remaining to some degree fixed at a point in time, or fixed upon an idea. And by kind of opening your mind, loosening that stance, allowing this person, setting this person free to do their journey, to find these truths, to change, or to choose to remain the same, all of that has really, it's sent a signal to them. It's made them aware of kind of where they are. It's made them have to then question what it was they were running from, and it's definitely a circumstance where they're kind of moving out of this stance of projecting and turning that lens inward, that what they've been running from is actually something within themselves. The love that you were trying to offer them, or that even vibrationally was touched upon with you, it's something within them that they have been running from. It's this feeling of questioning the love that they hold inside, the value of that love, their lovability even, that kind of manifested in this distortion of pushing that away, pushing the wish fulfillment away, refusing the medicine that could help to heal and kind of help them to regain their strength and grow beyond other disappointments regarding heartbreak of the past, or even the way in which they have come to understand and view and define love. They also say we share a telepathic bond. So this feels like somebody who's very cognizant of that, who is very aware of the energetic bond between you, the telepathy that exists between you. It could have been something that they really had run from, tried to push away in the past, tried to ignore, and it's been so persistent. There's been such a kind of an eye-opening event for this person, or again, any ways in which you have chosen to redirect your attention, your focus. And so this person is then kind of left with this chasm in their energy now, where they themselves are able, of their own accord, in a very organic manner, to explore this connection. Rather than feeling pursued by it, they have the opportunity to kind of backtrack and to sort of dig into this. For some people, they could even, with that divine counterpart reference, they could have even been sort of researching soulmates or twin flames, telepathy, researching, why am I still feeling something about this person? Why is this, sticking with me when other circumstances were very easy to just walk away from and move beyond, and there's been this persistence. And so the more this person is kind of opening up to that, the more they are sort of learning about that, it's resonating with them. With this energy of telepathy as well, this really ties into sensing how, despite whatever's happening in the material world, the two of you are really supporting one another energetically, really being that kind of that cheerleader, that motivator, that critic that kind of keeps the attention fixed on things that need to change, that kind of the time to avoid and to deflect and run, that time is over. And this person is just, they feel very much at the brink of kind of a deep internal journey that needs to take place. This doesn't feel like somebody that if they return to your life tomorrow, that there would be a substantial, measurable or long-lasting change within them. This feels like someone who still needs to do a lot of that shadow work. They still need to do a lot of that growth and evolution. But an important first step has taken place of acknowledging that, starting to look at that, starting to recognize that it's not everybody else. It's something within them that needs to change. They also say your heart is like no other I have known. So they are recognizing you as this deeply compassionate and deeply loving person, in terms of how you have really afforded them this time and space to come to these conclusions on their own, giving them that gift of freedom to organically go through this process, the ways in which you've redirected your focus, that you're detaching from the expectation of this person coming back, of things really working out. You come to this place of acceptance, or you're coming to that place of acceptance, that you need to really prioritize yourself. You need to really focus on what brings you joy, not putting all your eggs in this person's basket, but really focusing on what brings you joy, recognizing your birthright to experience healthy and reciprocal love, either in the form of this person or even somebody else in the future. Putting that focus on yourself, and at the same time holding this person in even a very minuscule way, some grain of love that you have for them. At this point in time, it's a cornerstone. It's something that they are able to tap into, that they're able to access. That despite what has happened, despite how they've behaved, not in a form of enabling or not valuing your own worth, but that you're just such a loving person that you are able to have that core of love for them, where you're wishing them the best, you're wishing them this healing, you're wishing that they can kind of move through this dense energy, for themselves, in order to find that peace within themselves, in order to kind of step into that best version of themselves, detaching again from expectations or kind of these demands of results. And sort of that gift of space that you have given them, the way in which you've handled this situation, again, respecting their boundaries when they, kind of expected that you would continue to chase, and you've sort of given up that chase, or you've allowed this person, you've recognized what this person is really kind of demonstrating to you, and then kind of acting in kind, kind of redirecting that focus onto self. That this could be so different from the ways in which they are used to dealing with other people. Others who might have been kind of vindictive, or would be kind of the tendency to kind of point the finger of blame, or be very sort of malicious. This feels like somebody that maybe kind of have a tendency to burn bridges with people because of this sort of reactionary energy, this kind of avoidant energy, kind of the abruptness with which they leave people with a lot of unanswered questions. They can have a lot of people in their past that, it's once that situation is over, the two are not on speaking terms, and there's a lot of tension and animosity there. But in some capacity that this has been different, that despite this person's actions, even with all the hurt and pain and disappointment you have felt, maybe even times of anger and frustration, that you have somehow transmuted that. You've moved beyond that. You've come to a place of peace. You still kind of understand and recognize that core of love that exists within them beyond all of this distortion that has taken place, but you're prioritizing yourself. You're not fetishizing that core of love within them, but you are instead, acknowledging it, honoring that, acknowledging and honoring, what they are doing in a 3D sense, what still needs to happen for them in terms of growth and evolution, and redirecting that focus upon yourself. And it's an inspiration to this person to, again, discontinue the projection onto others, discontinue that pattern of blame or operating out of distortion. By choosing yourself, you are showing this person, even energetically, kind of the route to their own peace and liberation, which is the choice of themselves, their own healing, their own ascension, their own transcendence of their patterns and tendencies. And they also say, I've lost so many people in my life. So this is that energy of somebody who may have a tendency to kind of burn bridges when situations are over, friendship, romance, even work situations. This could be something where they have a lot of people in their past where there's almost this bitter taste that is left based on the circumstances and the nature of how things have unfolded. This can also really tie into this person sabotaging this connection, this energy of self-sabotage, kind of pushing this away, ruining the connection before it had a chance to ruin them. They also say, will you marry me? Will you be the one I spend the rest of my life with? So they are in deep contemplation that on the other side of this work that they may need to do, that the two of you are just, you're so adequately matched at the core of who you are, that there is this desire to link their life up with you, to do the work that is necessary, to become a partner who has something of value and worth to offer you. Things that they may have overlooked or taken for granted or been sort of fearful of in terms of this connection, the intimacy of this connection. This could even just be somebody with a fear of commitment that had kind of pushed you away or kind of run from this connection instead of really facing that and addressing that. The tides have turned in that sense. They've turned a corner to where, again, they're really recognizing that what they've pushed away is perhaps the answer that they've been seeking all along. And they also say, why do you keep breaking my heart? And this really feels like this is them saying this to themselves. This person is really grappling with a lot of guilt and regret over kind of their actions in this situation, other circumstances in their life. Again, this tendency to kind of burn bridges, to not work through things, to not compromise with people, to not express themselves in a healthy manner, but to instead just kind of operate out of that space of wounding. And somebody who, in a variety of ways, may have kind of a series of broken hearts that are in their past. They have broken their own heart many times over this kind of tendency within themselves, and it's this reflection, this acknowledgement is really crucial, that has really been sparked by this situation particularly. The very unique nature of this, the very profound nature of this, the lasting nature of this bond, despite kind of the repetition of this usual pattern or cycle for this person. This has almost been the quintessential heartbreak for them. This has been the straw that broke the camel's back, where again, they may not be at the point of being able to manifest substantial change in the 3D sense to you, but something has shifted within them, something has given within them. They have now kind of been illuminated to something within them that, again, this energy of kind of projection and blame and running and avoidance, they've really been avoiding something within them. They've now turned to face that, and the journey then begins to kind of sift through those layers, to work through that baggage, to let things go, to come to peace within themselves in order to kind of reach that core, recognize that core, allow that core of love and purity and truth within them to shine forth, to saturate their entire being, and how they are moving through the world, how they are treating themselves with love and with respect, and with admiration, and then the ways in which that then is able to kind of ripple out into how they are kind of interacting and treating with others who touch upon this cord of love within them. So I'm going to get some initials for you now. Group 1, this can be first, middle, or last name of you or this person, or it could spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. We've got F, H, R, W, C, E, D, U, S, and A. So those are your messages, group 1. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. When you do that, it helps the video to reach others who might resonate with these messages and gain some kind of benefit or peace from what has come through here. And it also helps my channel to grow, so I definitely appreciate that. If you would like a personal reading, I offer them through my Etsy shop, and there's a link in the description box of the video for that. I also sell handmade jewelry in my Etsy shop if you're interested in checking that out as well. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well. Hi, group 2. You chose the Celestite. So let's see, what does your person want you to know from their higher self right now? Okay, childhood wounding is influencing my actions. So a lot of unprocessed trauma within this person, wounding, heartbreaks from the past even that may have operated as a wedge or a barrier to allowing this connection in, to allowing you into that heart space, to trusting in this love. A lot of pessimism that might be associated with love and with connections. This can also really talk about kind of their family of origin, a culture that they grew up in where emotions were compartmentalized, where expressing one's feelings was highly discouraged. And so this is kind of manifested then in an inability of this person to really experience deep intimacy or to kind of productively express themselves and their needs within a connection, not making these things known, keeping that inside, and then becoming very frustrated when those needs are not met. And so somebody who really is acknowledging, at least, from the higher self and internally, that there is some kind of a blockage there. There's some kind of a barrier there. It's something that's a learned behavior, and it feels that they're starting to really kind of look around, and they're starting to recognize how maybe these tendencies of others around them, or this kind of guardedness that they may have had to kind of adopt within themselves, this wall that they've needed to put up around their heart as kind of a self-protective mechanism from some kind of a heartbreak or a series of heartbreaks in the past, that it is now something where that fortress has essentially become a prison for them. Kind of this urge and this need to protect themselves, to kind of mend their heart, or come to a place of stability, kind of getting their footing again after a series or a substantial kind of disappointment or devastation in terms of love. That they've now crossed that threshold of pushing away wish fulfillment, pushing away the opportunity for healing and expansion in the form of experiencing other love, new love, kind of somebody who is realizing that a certain script or narrative that they have had about love has really been depriving them of a richness of experience, a richness of love, that this connection and even other circumstances in their past may have really been offered to them or afforded to them, and they were so almost closed off and guarded that kind of pushing away these blessings that the universe had offered them. And we also have, I unwittingly sabotaged our connection. So definitely self-sabotage energy there. Again, this kind of idea of the fortress around the heart now having become a prison, to where a certain time has passed or between whatever those heartbreaks were, or as they've grown from kind of childhood into being an adult, and these opportunities, maybe multiple opportunities, but then this connection specifically that really was that doorway to a new experience, something that defied their expectations, was different than what they had known and experienced about love in the past. And this person really understanding how they sort of thwarted that. They pushed this gift away. They're not feeling good in that space. It's kind of this energy of hindsight being 2020. Now that they are kind of on the other side of that, they're sitting in that aftermath. They're able to then kind of reflect on this. They're understanding how kind of the potency and the vibrancy of this connection, the energy between the both of you, what you had built, or even just the potential of what was there, the spark that was really there. They're starting to recognize how this was a door to a whole new level and experience for them, and what they are now left with, the world around them, kind of the comfort zone that they had chosen, or that they had kind of opted to sort of move back into. It's not as satisfying as it once was. It's almost like they've had a taste of something else, and it's been very hard to go back to kind of this mediocrity, or even something that they have now outgrown. Having touched upon this connection, having touched upon this dynamic and this love, that whatever it is was their normal before, whatever it is felt satisfying, or that they'd convinced themselves was enough for them, it's no longer enough. It no longer satiates them. And it's a sense of not necessarily, a void within them that has no discernible kind of solution. Nothing, they're not sure what to kind of fill that with. They're kind of grappling. There's a certainty here that something that they've been missing existed within this connection. There were answers here. There were keys here that unlocked something within them, and they've kind of pushed that away, and it's put them at a distance from that, from these answers, from this peace, from this understanding. From this sense of really being understood and being nurtured, and being in a safe space to be able to explore themselves, to be able to step out from behind those kind of prison walls, that fortress that they've constructed around themselves, and now finding themselves in an environment, in circumstances, still within that prison within them, where there's no other way forward now at this point. Starting to recognize that and becoming very acutely aware of, again, defense mechanisms that have now essentially trapped them, and kind of limited them in terms of kind of these next levels, these next chapters, these next stages and experiences of love and connection. And we also have rose-colored glasses. So this again can refer to this kind of idea of something that they had been convincing themselves was satisfactory to them, a life that they had built, a certain standard that they had, or, you know, again, this idea of feeling safe, keeping love at a distance, feeling best, pushing this connection away. This can talk about, you know, illusions as well related to love and loss, you know, maybe substantial series of heartbreaks as well that had kind of created this deep pessimism within them. They weren't going to let themselves love again. They were going to push love away if it ever came. You know, love stinks, love sucks, love doesn't exist. All of these different things that had kind of in an instant been obliterated by the spark between you, by this connection. It was very enticing for this person. It was very alluring for this person, very much catching them off guard and kind of tearing those rose-colored glasses off in an instant. And kind of with that new perspective, there may even have been a degree of overwhelm that kind of triggered these wounds within them, that they were entering into new territory. The potential that existed here, even energetically, was different than what they had known. And while feeling very compelled, very drawn to that, that also being very much outside of their comfort zone or outside of the narrative, the illusion that they had built for themselves. Now that they're kind of back in that safe zone, they're back in that arena of whatever the choice had been made other than to move in this direction of this connection. They're starting to really recognize how they've been kind of feeding and participating in an illusion, something that, you know, maybe at one point in time resonated for them. Whether that's a mindset, whether that's another connection that they're in, or even just kind of a series of patterns in how they are addressing and kind of moving through the idea of love and romance and connection. That these things, now that they've kind of seen on the other side of that, they've seen behind the curtain, they've had a taste of that, an inclination of that. It's very difficult to kind of acclimate back into this reality. They've taken something with them from this experience. It's the discomfort of knowledge, and it's very necessary in order to kind of catalyze this person to sort of dismantle these walls, to kind of dismantle this fortress, to liberate themselves from this very limited perspective or this outgrown or outdated kind of series of circumstances or mindsets or vibrations that they had been in that for a period of time were necessary. It was necessary to kind of gain their footing. It was necessary to heal to some degree. It was necessary to kind of mitigate the input, mitigate the growth potential in an emotional and energetic capacity. But that time has passed. The time has come for evolution, for kind of stepping beyond that comfort zone, sort of taking those training wheels off, and just kind of going with that momentum, trusting in sort of the wisdom and discernment that they have gained, seeking that wisdom from within, really deciphering and kind of picking through illusion to see what is truth and what needs to be left behind. They also say, I'm ashamed of how I treated you. So again, as they are kind of back in this comfort zone, they're back in that zone of whatever they had felt was the truth, felt was reality, was their choice. There's this energy of regret associated with that, and this knowledge also of having pushed away almost the healing that was being offered to them, that kind of opportunity to rewrite the script, rewrite the narrative, have a different kind of experience about love than what they had been taught, than what they had seen growing up, than what they had experienced in other connections that had led to this place of wounding, that had led them to kind of put up these walls, this fortress, these barriers around themselves. And it's something where they're starting to really recognize how these wounds that they had been struggling to just kind of contain or compartmentalize had in fact had a gross disadvantage over their free will, over what their heart wanted. Somebody who's really understanding that operating from that state of wounding, they again were not necessarily acting in their best interest, but were limiting themselves. And as a byproduct of that, there is shame, there is regret over kind of the aftermath of that. The kind of product of that, what that has done to you emotionally, what that has done to the nature of what you two were building together, what you had together. This idea that a lot of work needs to be done. They need to kind of break themselves out of this internal prison or fortress, and then there's also this need to kind of rebuild trust, to rebuild a path back to you. That it will take time. That this is not something that's immediate, that can just go from one day in this particular circumstance to to the next day everything is fine, that there's a process to all of this. It's something that, will be very, very methodical. It'll be sort of, multiple steps that need to happen. And with that kind of that shame and regret is also this motivation to really start to get to work at these things, to create a plan, to really start to use that discernment to separate truth from illusion. Okay, and we have, I'm seeing through the illusion. So there you go. There's a confirmation of that with that idea of rose-colored glasses and, this wounding from their past. They're starting to really recognize how they've operated out of this energy of distortion and have essentially kind of thwarted blessings that have been presented to them in the form of this connection. And, even in other sort of circumstances in their life. This could be somebody who, is very kind of has established something for themselves, some kind of routine, some kind of belief system, some kind of mindset, and anything that deviates from that, any kind of wild card that presents itself, an opportunity for adventure. This person could be very hesitant to really take that step, to take that leap of faith, because it took so long to construct this reality for themselves. It has taken so long to construct kind of the sanctity, the safety of that fortress that they are now starting to understand is in fact it's some form of a prison. It's some form of containment. It's captivity that is keeping them kind of at a distance. It's keeping them on the outskirts, kind of seeing life from behind the walls. Kind of this idea of looking out the window and watching other people having experiences out in the world, sensing the fresh air, but they are only in this place of sort of containment. They're in this very insulated part of themselves, or an insulated kind of reality. There's a sense of having touched on something more, and now at this point of trying to kind of find a way out of that world, that kind of fishbowl that they've been living in. It's no longer satisfying on a deep soul level. There's a desire for more. There's a craving for more, a desire to kind of find their way back, to kind of move away from whatever this sort of comfort or safety zone is, and to really open themselves up to this energy of faith, to this energy of trust, to this energy of taking a chance, taking a step out into the unknown, opening up to trust in love again, or even just kind of deviate from, again, a series of kind of patterns or habits or routines or regularity, even belief systems and mindsets that they've created within themselves. And they also say, I think you are so sexy. So they are deeply attracted to you, magnetized to you on all levels. This feels like an attraction on the mental level, on the emotional level, physical level, spiritual level, psychic level. There's just something so different about your energy and about you and about the way that you have really touched this person. It's that pivot point. It's that contrast. It's that color that is illuminating how black and white their world is, how they've been living in shades of gray, and there's a whole rainbow, there's a whole prism, there's a whole spectrum of colors out there in the form of love and connectedness that they have yet to experience, that they have not touched upon. This is somebody that through this connection, through the memories of what you shared, and even the way you are energetically kind of impacting each other even from afar, it's really helping to open this person's eyes, to helping them to take off those rose-colored glasses that whatever they've convinced themselves or built for themselves or surround themselves with, that they had sort of, it had been substantial, it had been satisfying for a period of time, or it had been acceptable for a period of time. There's a sense of wanting something more for themselves, wanting something more out of life, not wanting their view on love and the way in which they are able to kind of participate in relationships, not wanting this to be the theme for the rest of their life. Understanding that this connection, how it exists currently, what has happened in the past, that this is a doorway in order to build a bridge between where they have been, what their experiences of the past have been, and this new potential that exists for them. They also say, you mean the world to me. So in the silence, in the separation, despite what they may have said or done or pushed you away, again, all of that really stemming from a place of reaction, stemming from a place of wounding, of self-protection, of overprotectedness of self. and that at the core of that, at the truth of that, from behind those fortress walls, within their heart, is this deep and resounding and profound love for you, something that even defies explanation for them. They feel so compelled in your direction, so compelled to finally liberate themselves from whatever this is, or whatever series or combinations of things this is, that in some way you have provided kind of that key or that map to something else, to something more, to what they maybe have been looking for the whole time, but had kind of gotten to the point after a series of disappointments or other circumstances of just convincing themselves that it was fantasy, it was myth, it was not something that they were ever going to achieve or experience with another person. This level of connectedness and love and the vibrations the two of you share and experience, but it's something where this is almost the fantasy in flesh. This is almost even just aspects about you and about the dynamic fitting so intricately in with things that are important for them, that are crucial for them, that resonate with them. The two of you resonating with each other on a deep soul level, this deep level of compatibility that might have really kind of spooked them. The fact of, could this be too good to be true? Is this just an illusion? Is this just a mirage? If I take a chance on this, if I open up to this, if I let this in, could this be kind of the final ruin of me? Could this be a heartbreak that I will not recover from? And so that kind of the intensity of that, again, contributing to these wounds, this tendency within them to avoid or to push away, to stay safely cloistered within that kind of fortress prison around their heart, rather than taking a chance on experiencing a love that is safe, a love that is reciprocal, a love that is different than everything they have been taught and have come to know. They also say, I feel like I'm obsessing over you. So they're thinking a lot about what has happened in the past. They're thinking a lot about you, again, in this silence, and they can't shake this. They can't shake this feeling of how different this is, how unique this is, how kind of satisfying this vibration is, how compatible the two of you are on so many levels. And it's kind of contributing to this energy of frustration and sort of shame within this person. Like, how could I push away somebody that is so perfect for me on so many different levels? But with that is also kind of this obsession with wanting to find a way beyond this, wanting to create, again, some kind of bridge between where you find yourselves currently and where they would like to be in this situation. An obsession now with kind of dismantling brick by brick this illusion, this fortress prison that they have contained themselves in, recognizing as well that what might have been, again, a necessary period of sort of self-preservation has now kind of moved into the realm of self-limitation. And so this is something that they're very much fixated on, kind of finding a way out of this, finding a way beyond this, finding a way back to you, or to a piece of themselves, a version of themselves, a vibration of themselves that is able to kind of match what you have to offer, that is able to receive the love that you have to give, and to be able to give something back that is substantial, that is trustworthy, that is, consistent. Okay, and they say, you're what home is supposed to feel like. So again, this idea of a very unique vibration that you hold, something you have sparked within this person, a feeling of sanctuary, a feeling of security within them that is so comforting. It's almost that you're the person that they've wished for, that they've hoped for, on so many levels, even just, energetically in subtle ways, aside from, maybe the physical characteristics that you have, or things that the two of you have in common, or, shared goals and ideas and a way of relating to one another, that there's something vibrationally that just feels so much like a sanctuary. It feels like that nurturing space that is not a prison of containment. It's more along the lines of kind of that fortress that protects, but that has that kind of aperture to where this person is then able to kind of freely explore themselves, freely express themselves. A love which allows, as opposed to a love which contains or seeks to thwart, which might have been their experiences of love in the past. There's a sense here too of kind of the ways in which you have interacted with this person, being very accepting of them, kind of sitting with them as they sort of process some of the difficulties within themselves, reminding them, showing them, even just representing that beacon, that core of truth within yourself, which helps them to kind of recognize that within themselves. This feels like a very sort of different and elusive experience of connection that they had always kind of hoped for, had maybe dismissed was even possible if this was just fantasy, if this is just something, they're making up or wishful thinking. And there's this energy here of almost, this energy of being very estranged, this desire to come home, this person in this process of kind of wanting to come home to themselves, wanting to create that home within them, wanting to become that love that they wish to find, that they wish to seek and experience for themselves, but also with this large motivation of becoming a safe space where when they approach, when they open up, when they seek to kind of turn the page in this circumstance, that they are able to receive you and to provide that same place of sanctuary for you that you provide for them. And they say, your laugh means the world to me. So they're thinking back on good times that you shared, wanting to really be a source of joy for you as opposed to, maybe kind of an origin point for some distress, for tears, for confusion. They don't feel good in this. They feel very ashamed about this. They want to be a positive force in your life. They want to be a positive influence in your life. They want to bring something of measure and value and meaning to your life that mirrors the measure and value and meaning that you have brought to them as well. And so somebody who might also be, keeping themselves at a distance at this point in time, despite having come to this realization that there is recognition that, these walls that they built around themselves need to come down. And when these things come down, that it may take some time to kind of step out into that vulnerable space, step out from behind these kind of defense mechanisms. And so again, kind of keeping themselves at bay, keeping themselves at distance, despite this urge and this pull they have to rush towards you, and this energy of revelation of who you are and what you mean to them, because they again want to be that source of joy. They don't want to add to your discomfort or your confusion, but they want to be the reason that you smile. They want to replace all those tears with laughter. They also say, I'm sorry I panicked and let my fears mess things up. So another confirmation there of kind of some woundings that had been triggered, kind of these gatekeepers of fear. And the sense here of being very ashamed of that, some kind of impulsivity, some kind of a callousness that they had displayed to you, or just being very, matter of fact, very brisk, very abrupt with how they exerted those boundaries, with how they kind of pulled the drawbridge up to that fortress and sort of closed you out, contained themselves away from this situation. And kind of as the dust has settled, as they have kind of been able to then sort of sit in this reality, in the alternative to what this connection was offering them. They're now in this other polarity, and they're starting to really recognize how a lot of that action might have been very much fear-based, and how their fears and how kind of that reactive space within them has contributed to a lot of distress on your part, a lot of confusion and a lot of sorrow, kind of a lot of deflation. Not understanding, or even maybe questioning kind of your role in things. Were you too intense? Did you come on too strong? Is there something not good enough about you? Maybe questioning your own worth and worthiness, starting to question the feelings that you had experienced with this person, or the vibration that was very much tangibly there. And internally, they're really acknowledging that they had a role to play in this. That they could have done better about expressing some of these fears and some of this hesitation and confusion. They could have done a better job of explaining that kind of the connection was nearing the proximity of something within them that was very familiar. Other kind of times where they had allowed themselves to open up to love, only to have that kind of crush them or end up very disappointing. And so it's something where, as they're acknowledging that, they're also recognizing that they need to kind of acquire some better tools and skills for communication. They need to come to terms with these things within themselves in order to be able to kind of convey that and explain that and work through these things jointly with you in the future. They also say, I'm struggling to find the right words. So this is somebody that wants to come back in with an explanation, with some kind of an apology, to kind of be that source of joy, to provide you with some kind of closure, meaning, wants to turn the page in this situation, but is still kind of in that process of maybe learning some new communication skills, learning to really understand their feelings and kind of put the pieces together, kind of retracing their steps. Where did these wounds stem from? What does this mean? Why do I behave like this? What's to be gained from this? How can I grow from this? How can we grow from this experience? They also say, let's start over. So again, somebody who is wanting reconciliation with you, is wanting to kind of move beyond the difficulties that you faced, wanting to come back in a fresh energy, to lean more into a space of trust and communication as things are triggered, as things come up. A desire to not leave things where they are, or to have this be all there is to this connection, but this desire to grow, this desire to expand, this desire to become that safe space within themselves so that they are able to receive your heart and reciprocate the safe space that you provide for them as well. They also say, do you trust me? So trust may need to be established, or reestablished rather, in this connection, based on however it is that they acted, or the things that they said, or kind of the energy that they projected out to you. They're understanding that this might not just be as simple as kind of popping back up into your reality, but this might take some time to, again, kind of build a bridge between the two of you, taking some time to establish that foundation, to establish that trust, reestablish some kind of a friendship, kind of gradually building towards this. There is this desire to start over. There is this desire to move on from these circumstances, to choose the path of love as opposed to the path of fear that they may have chosen before. And there's a sense of, again, wanting to present themselves as trustworthy, as that safe space, wanting to earn back your trust, wanting to prove change through a demonstration of altered actions and a consistency that might have been kind of lacking or questionable before. They also say, you are the light of my life. So definitely motivation here to continue this work within themselves, to push forward, to sift beyond these illusions, to free themselves, to liberate themselves from this fortress that they have constructed around their heart. Beliefs and mindsets around love and how they should express that, how they should be showing up in a loving connection. You're helping to really illuminate for them through who you are, through the vibration you carry, through the way that you have kind of picked up the pieces out of this circumstance and are moving forward in your life. How, as painful as this is, you've not allowed this situation or these circumstances to completely dim your light. You're persistent. You are persistent in your embodiment of love and exuding that and shining that out in everything that you do. And it's something that this person recognizes. It's this feeling of home. It's this beacon that you are, that even just energetically you are, maybe not even through anything you're doing deliberately, just who you are, the vibration that you carry. It's something that this person sees, they recognize, and it's really guiding them. It's helping to lead them. It's helping to give them this courage and this encouragement to sort of sift through the illusions in their life, to move away and sort of take down these walls and these barriers that might have been necessary at one point in time, but they don't need that anymore. That the next phase, kind of the next evolution of this healing process for them is opening up to love, is taking a chance on love. This feels like somebody who has a lot of internal work to do, who has over time done a lot of internal work. They may have needed to cloister themselves off to a certain extent, but this connection, the opportunity presented through this by the universe, is kind of that signal that, the next layer of this, of really transcending these things from the past, or growing beyond kind of hurts and heartbreaks and illusions, is by the experience in a very tangible sense of a different story in love, a different experience in love, a different dynamic of love than what they have known before. And so trust can also really factor into that on this person's part. They're having a hard time trusting in that. They're having a hard time letting go of that wounding, letting go of these narratives, and allowing themselves to be kind of infused, to be purified, and to be empowered by the experience of a very different kind of love than what they have known previously. They've got this inclination that this is different. This is what home is supposed to feel like. But the hooks that these wounds have in them are very persistent as well. As much as they've kind of wanted to lean out into this, step out into this, experience this, they have found themselves sort of pulled back or retracted into that comfort zone that has served them well up to a certain point in time, but is now at the point of having exceeded its utility. It is now time to take down those walls, take down those barriers, move away from that very gray existence, and step out into the very colorful potential that exists through this connection. They also say, I've lost so many people in my life. So this is, again, that idea of a lot of substantial heartbreaks, a lot of disappointments that have really contributed to this person needing to put up some kind of protective mechanism around themselves. Somebody who could be a deeply sensitive person to where, heartbreak hurts for everyone, but it could be something that is very profoundly experienced by this person, or just the nature and circumstances of these heartbreaks might have affected them substantially, could have really had kind of a devastating impact on multiple areas and aspects of their life. This feels like somebody who, may have just come to the point of, feeling they can't handle any more heartbreak. They can't let love in because it has so crushed them in the past. And so some kind of steps that have been taken to rebuild themselves, to come to terms with these things, to kind of live with this pain, that again, they become so used to that sense of loss, equating love and loss, that they're having a difficult time kind of moving beyond that, trusting in a new possibility, a new experience of love than what they have known before. But at the same time, the light that you are emitting as you continue to kind of work through this experience and your feelings about it, you continue to stand in that light and that truth and emanate that core of love that you are. It's motivation, and it's helping this person to kind of let go of that feeling of loss and step into that space of trust, that what they have seen and known, experienced of love up to this point in their life, what they have learned of love, is just a mere fraction of the potential of what is out there. That somebody who may have really had a lot of teaching experiences through kind of pain associated with romantic connections is starting to recognize that, at this phase of their life, this opportunity, this connection is here to afford them the experience of learning what love is in a very positive and reciprocal and nurturing manner. So I'm going to get some initials for you now. Group 2, this can be first, middle, or last name of you or this person, or it could spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. We've got J, K, Y, F, W, R, N, V, O, Z, Q, and B. So those are your messages, group 2. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. When you do that, it helps the video to reach others who might benefit from these messages, find some kind of peace or answers about their situation, and it helps my channel to grow as well, so I deeply appreciate that. If you would like a personal reading, I offer them through my Etsy shop, and there's a link in the description box of the video for that. I also sell handmade jewelry in my Etsy shop if you're interested in checking that out as well. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well. Hi, Group 3. You chose the Stichtite. So let's see, what does your person want you to know from their higher self? Okay, and they say, I am ashamed of how I treated you. So somebody who might have rejected your cup of love in the past, or held back on expressing their feelings when an opportunity had presented itself, or maybe multiple opportunities had presented themselves, and really having been able to sense kind of the disappointment or the pain that their actions or inactions caused to you. And it's leading them into this energy of feeling almost that they acted kind of cowardly at a certain point in time, or really blaming themselves, being kind of hard on themselves for not following their heart, choosing kind of the route of fear, the path of fear, as opposed to the path of love. Their actions or inactions being very contrary to the truth of what they feel about you and have always felt about you inside. This can also talk about somebody who kind of pulled back their energy very abruptly in this connection, might have kind of created some kind of a barrier or a wedge kind of intentionally. Things might have been going really well between you, only to have them almost get spooked at a certain point in time and just kind of recoil, go back into their shell to a certain extent. And again, this element of kind of questions that you've been left with, or a feeling of disappointment that may have also caused you to kind of pull back your energy from this person, to really start to question kind of the nature of what you're feeling for them. Is this real? Is this something where not wanting to invest and kind of get ahead of yourself and to allow yourself to be kind of carried away by a sensation, by a feeling, if this is somebody who's not feeling it as well, or is not emotionally available to be able to kind of reciprocate that and receive that. And so all of this has not gone unnoticed by this person. If this is someone you're still in contact with, they are noticing the difference in the way the two of you interact. They're noticing the difference, the distance that exists now in that kind of that dynamic between you. And if this is someone you're at a distance from completely, then they are also kind of perceiving that this feels like a deeply sort of empathic connection between you, where they're able to really pick up on what you are feeling. They're also in this period of kind of reflection, thinking back on how they handled the situation, and kind of aside from what they're able to kind of pick up from you, it's almost this very kind of logical train of thought where as they are kind of stepping back, they're reflecting on their actions, they're understanding how that would have felt, they're understanding that confusion, they're understanding the questions that left you with, or kind of the disappointment that would have kind of inflicted or sort of brought up. And it's something that they're not feeling good about that. There's this energy here of wishing they could kind of go back and do things differently. And they say, I get emotional when I think of you. So this person has a lot of love for you. Again, a lot that might not have been expressed, or that they just hadn't expressed in the right way. This could have been very overwhelming for them. Kind of the more that they were feeling for you, the deeper that they were getting into that emotional space. And it could have been something that they weren't necessarily prepared for. Maybe this is someone who is coming out of some other kind of heartbreak in their life and wasn't looking for love. They weren't looking for connection. They were in a space of just kind of wanting to do their own thing for a while, and out of nowhere this connection came. Out of nowhere this spark was really instigated between the two of you. Somebody who might have been very much almost catching feelings for you very quickly, very unexpectedly. And it's something that, there's now in this hindsight, they're recognizing kind of the depth of this, kind of the bond between the two of you, that it goes beyond just a surface level attraction. It goes beyond just kind of this impulsivity, or somebody that might have just been trying to trauma bond with somebody, or somebody that might have been trying to kind of deflect from their own sort of pain and the energy of avoidance, not wanting to deal with heartbreak. This feels like something where they are really starting to recognize that there's something genuinely here. These emotions that they have for you are real, and they're deep, and they transcend logic. It's something that doesn't make sense. It's a connection that has come into their life at a point when they weren't looking for it, when they were maybe trying to keep love at arm's length, to do some healing, to reprioritize how they are moving through the world, what they're focusing on. Somebody who had been directing that focus onto themselves, and as a consequence of that had sort of raised their vibration to a point, even unknowingly, where the universe was then able to align the two of you. Kind of this next step of the healing journey, or almost as an anecdote to disappointments in love that you two had experienced in the past. Something about this connection, even the circumstances that you find yourselves in, of having to kind of grapple with this, sort of pull back your own energy, internalize, kind of process all of this. There being an element of healing there, and it's something where this person is definitely they're in their feels about this. They're in their emotions about this. They're sifting through all of that. They are allowing that to wash over them and wash through them. It feels very healing, and at the same time, there is this energy of regret, where they're wanting to do things better, wishing they had done things better, and sort of trying to sit with all of this to figure out how to do better moving forward, how to create a new opportunity with you, or if another opportunity presents itself, trying to come to that place within them where they will make different choices, acting where they may have hesitated previously. They also say, I wish you knew how grateful I am to have met you. So again, this connection may have come very unexpectedly for this person, for the two of you, at a time when you weren't looking for love, maybe in a place you weren't necessarily looking for love. There could have been kind of unusual circumstances based on how you encountered one another. Again, just kind of coming into each other's life at a time and in a manner that it wasn't out on the pursuit for a partner for that special person. And kind of the intensity of this bond, what has really been activated within this person, this awareness, these deep emotions that they have for you, which could come as quite a surprise to them. Maybe they were in, again, a point of trying to heal from some kind of heartbreak, trying to kind of keep love at a distance, not focus on love, focusing on themselves. There's a gratitude here, almost this energy of having resurrected this person in a certain way, something that you've touched upon, that your energy has provided for them or has demonstrated to them. It's this gratitude that despite what they have experienced, despite the pain that they have, despite how that has maybe impacted their impression of how lovable they are, how worthy they are of love, what has been received by them from you has really it has infused them, it has healed them, it has opened the door for them to a new possibility, to again this sort of redemption energy, or this resurrection energy, that whatever their heartbreak and their disappointment they were dealing with, that's not the end of the story, that perhaps there is still time for love, there is still an opportunity to have that very fulfilling and mutual and reciprocal experience of love that might have been elusive for them in the past. They also say, I run away to avoid facing my problems. So again, somebody that might have recoiled from the intensity of this, somebody who might have really been in this position when you encountered them, of not looking for love, prioritizing themselves, keeping that at a distance, focusing on matters around them, other things that kind of were taking precedence, or that they felt that they needed to do in order to come to terms with some aspects of themselves, some things that had happened in the past. And what has happened, this choice to not act when they had the opportunity, or a choice to kind of pull away from this connection as things kind of were getting more deeper and more intense between you. It's really bringing to light the fact that they may have kind of an avoidant attachment style, that they may have really become accustomed to living kind of with this feeling of pain or loss or dissatisfaction, that when that opportunity for something different, when that door was really opened to kind of moving out of this space of learning about love through the lens of what love is not, into that arena of learning what love is through the experience of what love can be, what love should be, what love actually looks like, as opposed to the distortions that they had known previously. The intensity of that, the newness of that, the otherness of that, the timing of all of this, really at a place which is usually when love finds us, is when we are not looking for it. At the most unexpected time and manner is when that kind of intersection happens, that convergence happens, and the intensity of that really kind of sparking again this tendency within this person to kind of avoid, to kind of run, but this being a very necessary sort of event or occurrence or state that you find yourselves in, so that in this distance, from behind this kind of shell or chasm that has now been created between you and within this person, they are able to kind of face these things. They are able to sit with that and really start to digest and understand the depth and nature of the emotions they have for you, the gratitude that they have for having encountered you, for having met you, even just not even based upon what you've experienced up to this point, but just that sense of potential, that sense of possibility, something that's been enlivened or invigorated or brought back to life within this person that they may have just kind of written off as done and over with, a pain that they had just kind of come to this point of awareness that they felt they just had to learn to live with. They had to learn to accommodate that. They had to learn to work around that. And that something about this connection is actually, it alleviates that. It's the antidote for that. It's something different. It brings their attention away from that. It restores a sense of hope. And they say, it's hard for me too. So the distance, the separation, this longing that the two of you have for one another that has either not been spoken or that was kind of thwarted in the past. This doesn't feel good for this person. It doesn't feel good for them to not act upon this urge that they have to run towards you, to run into your arms, to open their arms to you, to open their heart to you, to allow this very beautiful possibility to unfold in a series of experiences, a new adventure in love, a new type of love, a new way of being held in the arms of love, and also encouraged to be that sanctuary, to be that holding force. There's a sense here of this person really seeing in you kind of the best that is possible within them, that being a very startling reality for them, very different from how they have come to understand themselves and know themselves. And in that kind of this overwhelm, this shock at having seen their true reflection, the true core of what exists within them, beyond all the narratives and kind of the wounds and sort of the distortions that were projected upon them by other people that they had come to just kind of cloak themselves with in a form of sort of self-protection, or because they hadn't had or experienced anyone that had shown them anything different. They lacked the language to be able to kind of decipher distortion from reality, masks of pain from the core truth and purity of the love that they are. And so in this separation, in this silence, in the emotional distance, even as they're processing all of that, it's becoming harder and harder for them to continue to push this connection away, to continue to dwell in that space of avoidance or denial. They also say, I think you are so sexy. So they are very much drawn to you, attracted to you on multiple levels, on all levels. You fit very well with them. You make sense to them, perhaps even in a way that they can't quite put their finger on. And that otherness might have really triggered this person to kind of pull away or to push this connection away out of that fear of, that idea of fools rushing in, not wanting to get carried away, maybe thinking back on other times where they allowed themselves to be swept away by the sensations, by the feeling or the suggestion of love. And so kind of as a corrective mechanism, as an example of the wisdom that they have gained, the lessons that they've taken in from other experiences of love and disappointment in their past, they were trying to do something different. They were trying to act more in their own interest in a way that kind of preserved their stability, as opposed to just kind of giving their power away to the realm of feeling and impulse. But that in that process, they are now starting to understand that it's not necessary in this circumstance. That might have been a very valuable tool in other examples in their life. It's definitely a takeaway that needed to occur from these other experiences in their past. But with the way in which they are so drawn into this connection, they are so drawn to you. There's a compatibility here. There's this element of almost this counterpart energy between the two of you, in very subtle and yet very meaningful ways that could be quite different from what they had kind of gauged as their perfect other, their other half, the person that they were looking for, somebody that would be well matched to them. This connection, you almost tap into aspects of this person that had been long dormant, that they had ignored or had failed to realize or recognize or had kind of rejected about themselves. You're starting to help to kind of bring this person, again, that energy of kind of resurrection, renewal. You're bringing this person back to life, not just bringing them out of some kind of slump or depression, but you're helping to really activate. You're helping to encourage parts of this person that may have never been expressed in the material world, that may have never been honored and appreciated in a loving dynamic or in any other kind of dynamic with others, before. That this is something where these parts of themselves feel safe to be expressed, feel safe to be known and to be seen. They feel very, very nurtured in their authenticity, and it's very attractive to them. The vibration that you carry, how you move through the world, how you have reached that core of love within yourself, and that saturates you. You exude that in everything that you do. It's very attractive to them. Even kind of issues of disappointment in your past, and the way that you have really risen beyond these circumstances. You've gleaned that wisdom. You've allowed yourself to be forged by these circumstances. Instead of becoming embittered, you've become more compassionate. You've become more loving, despite kind of situations that were intended, or for other people might have been kind of these breaking points, might have been kind of that point of no return, in the way in which you've kind of come beyond these things and allowed that to kind of be the motivation to shape yourself into that best version, that loving version, that persistent version of self. All of this person finds very alluring, very attractive. It's almost on multiple levels, you're helping this person to kind of make that transition within themselves as well. To let go of the old narratives, to let go of the pain they've been holding on to the illusions and distortions about who they think they are, in order for that authenticity to step forth, in order for this person to be that stubborn love that persists despite all the circumstances and occurrences and even the internal projections that would encourage otherwise, that would try to snuff that out. This is somebody who's almost rising despite all of that, rising within themselves in order to kind of come to that vibration where a different experience, maybe the next time an opportunity presents itself, or somebody who will then create an opportunity to correct what has happened in the past. They also say, and now I'm the bad guy. So they are definitely thinking back with that energy of being ashamed of how they treated you, how they kind of pushed this away, how they sort of rejected your cup of love, or didn't take steps to kind of move this connection along to the next level, or to continue this connection. All of this has been very necessary for them to recognize ways in which they have almost been that culprit in their own life. They have been that villain in their own story. They have self-sabotaged, and kind of this process that they are needing to move through to forgive themselves, to have compassion for themselves, to realize that the best apology is changed behavior, that whatever has occurred or whatever they hesitated on in the past, they have the opportunity to do better, to change that, to rewrite the story, to become the hero in their own story as well, to not just sit in the complacency of maybe how they've been treated by others in the past, and what that has resulted in, what they have had to become or do in order to kind of recover from that, or to, again, this process of kind of gaining wisdom and this sort of self-protective mechanism that might have been necessary during that process. That they're at this crucial juncture right now of, again, becoming the hero of their own story, rewriting this idea within themselves that they are somehow flawed, they are somehow unlovable, they're somehow damaged, or they only bring kind of chaos and destruction into romantic connections, making a conscious choice to honor a different part of themselves, to recognize a different face of themselves, their truth and their authenticity, that however they have shown up in connections, including this connection in the past, need not dictate the future. They have the ability to change their approach at any time. They do have control to raise their vibration, to come beyond these circumstances, to recognize and unearth that wholeness, that very infallible core of love that exists within them. No matter what has happened, no matter what they have done, that core reality exists. And it's a challenge, it's a task, it's an opportunity, an invitation at this point to really embrace that, to allow that to be their truth, to allow that to saturate them, to infuse them in all ways, to bring that healing to themselves so that they are then able to kind of exude that in terms of healing this connection and being a force of healing for others in the world as well. They also say, you have me lost in my emotions. So another confirmation there of kind of this deep emotion, these deep emotions that this person has. This could be a very emotional person in general, a very sensitive person in general, where difficulties, disappointments of the past have caused them to kind of close off, to sort of protect themselves, to not again want to be carried away by their emotions. And so they were trying to do something different in this circumstance than what they have done in the past, which had led to kind of a series of disappointments and heartbreaks for them. But in essence, by sort of taking that different approach here, they're starting to now recognize from that place of kind of barrier, from that place of distance that has now opened up or been created, that they do have a depth of emotion for you that is profound, that is different than what they have felt for others before. They're starting to learn to trust in that, starting to have to wade through that, to come to terms with that, to come to a place of ease with that. Kind of the challenge or the task at this point in time now being these two options: to remain in kind of that self-protective mode and what was necessary for a period of time, or to trust in the magic of new beginnings, trust in the opportunity that is being presented here, trust in the possibility and the probability that this connection, that the work that they've done on themselves, the ways in which they have healed, has now manifested as a different vibration of person that they are calling in, that how they have shown up themselves in romances in the past need not dictate how they show up in the future. The types of partners and the experiences that they are used to kind of magnetizing in, that has kind of changed, that has shifted, that need not be sort of the story forever and ever for them. And so it's this process of kind of coming to terms with what they feel, this attraction to you on all these different levels that is kind of churning within them, and is kind of the it's almost this energy of a soup which is creating, which is kind of simmering within them, and that is creating something of nourishment within them, so that they are able to then be able to provide something substantial to you in the future in this connection. They also say, when I think about the future, you're always there with me. So they don't want to keep things where they are. They don't want to stay in the silence or in the distance forever. This is somebody who's very much motivated to kind of figure this out, to pull themselves out from this circumstance, to make apologies if those are necessary, or to at least present in a different energy, to lean more into this connection as opposed to this tendency or this trend to kind of pull away. They see a long-term future with you. They see this deep compatibility with you. When they think about somebody they would want by their side, they imagine it to be you. This could have been someone who sort of had resigned themselves to maybe just being alone forever, or not experiencing love, that being over, them being very unlucky in that capacity, or just it not working out for them in this lifetime, and so they kind of had chosen to focus on other things. Something about this connection has now opened the door to a different kind of future than they had imagined for themselves. Almost this idea of having found that person, that partner, that counterpart that could really help to support them in whatever their goals and dreams are, that would be that safe space where they could grow and expand and learn, that support system, and wanting to be that support system for you as well, as the two of you continue to evolve individually on into the future, and the connection then as well evolves into kind of this strength, this unshakable quality that even exists here in this distance, in this separation, and whatever has happened, that this person's feelings have not diminished for you. They've in fact become more intense with time, and it's something that the more they're sitting with that and exploring that, they're understanding kind of the depth and nature of this. This connection is based on more. It's based on a depth that they had not been able to achieve or experience with others previous in previous connections. And so based on that, it's something that they're starting to recognize that this has all the qualities of something long lasting that other disappointments of love in the past were lacking. They also say, you're unlike anyone I've ever known. So again, this very unique aspect here, this very counterpart energy that they feel with you, something very important about this connection that they sense, a gravity to this connection, a depth to this connection, an intensity to this connection that is unlike what they have experienced. You represent a new dynamic of love, a new understanding of love, a new layer of love, a higher level love than what they have known even in other long-term relationships, in deep emotional connections that they've had in the past. This is a whole new layer of depth that is both very alluring and at the same time a little frightening for this person. But in all of that, there is this sense of peace. That maybe the fear that they're feeling is in fact this anticipation of something really exciting that's there, that's on the horizon, that has the potential to really unfold and to bloom. Being unlike anyone they've ever known, you reflect and mirror to this person, again, parts of themselves that may have been long dormant, that they had kind of dismissed. You help even just in your vibration, you help this person to see themselves from a new light. You shine light on them that illuminates that same light within them, something they may have been closed off to or had kind of dismissed or abandoned. You start to help this person as well make sense of a lot of mysteries in their life. You help this person to see the world from a different perspective, to start to understand the nature of connection in an entirely new way. And again, the more that they kind of learn about you in some way, it's helping them to discover more about themselves. And they say, I feel your energy with me. So deeply empathic bond between you and this person. There could be a lot of telepathy going on, a lot of dreams that are happening. You're feeling them around you energetically, and this is that confirmation they're feeling you as well. You two are definitely bonded at the soul. This speaks strongly to counterpart energy, twin soul energy here. A connection which shapes and transforms, but in a very positive manner, that does carry triggers with it, but not so much in a destructive aspect, but in a very instructional capacity. The triggers that are kind of activated within the two of you being for the purpose of substantial growth, as opposed to kind of eroding or eradicating a particular view of self, a particular world or reality. That this is something instead these triggers are helping to shape. These triggers are helping to build as opposed to break down. And they say, nothing replaces you. If I can't have you, I'd rather have nothing. So now that this person has kind of sampled your energy, has touched upon this, has experienced this connection, it feels that they can't go back into that illusion. They can't go back into that comfort zone. Something has shifted. Something has been illuminated for them. Their eyes have been opened to a level of connecting with another person that was unknown to them before. There's an element of healing and acceptance. This feels like the energy of love that allows, love that is patient, love that is kind, which is so different from the experience of, love that, or what calls itself love, that demands and that constricts and that erodes, that is friction. There's an ease that is here, And it is so different than what this person has known before, what they've been able to experience since, if some time has passed and they've maybe explored other romances, or they are kind of looking back over their past and other experiences and trying to kind of figure this out, this very different connection, and how that compares to what they've come to define love as. That the more they're sitting with this, the more they're being saturated by these emotions and this reality and this awareness that is coming to them, it's starting to really illuminate for them this need to move beyond this craving that they have, this urge that they have, this draw that they have, this magnetism that they have to you, that they can't stay in this energy of silence and of inaction. They can't stay in this stance of avoiding. This is helping to motivate them to work beyond these things, to transcend these boundaries within themselves, so that they can move in the direction of this deep fulfillment, this deep sense of adventure and possibility that they feel with you. It's something that it's almost, now that they are aware of this and they are becoming increasingly aware of this, this has changed the trajectory of their life in kind of a deep manner. And it's something that it's almost like nothing else will do at this point in time, that they can't continue living their life in the space of distance between the two of you, that to do that would be so, they almost feel that they would continue to be pulled back towards you, continue to be pulled back toward that element of growth. Wheels have been set in motion, and the things that might have satiated them before, or been very kind of acceptable and satisfying for them before, that they've lost the taste for these things. They've touched upon something new. It's opened up their palate in a whole new way, and it's something where, now the steps are needing to be taken to kind of move away from some other things in their life, to move away from some resistance within themselves, to be able to become that nurturing, safe space within them, to where they are able to receive and reciprocate the love that you have to offer. And they say things are going to be different from now on. So this is somebody who's very resolved to make change, somebody who is not just content to keep things where they are, to remain in the energy of resistance. This is somebody who is taking proactive steps, small steps even, to step beyond that comfort zone, to lean into these emotions, to explore these things, to sort of pick apart the barriers that they may have had, to start to face these things, face these problems within themselves, face these wounds within themselves, face down these distorted views that they have had of their worthiness of love, or the value of the love they have to offer, or how they have come to define and know love as, this resistance to love, being closed off to that, keeping that at an arm's length. This is somebody who's really turned a corner with that, and wants to lean into this, wants to participate in this, wants to actively cultivate within themselves a space that is able to nurture and sustain this connection. They say, do you trust me? So this may take a little bit of time, or could be kind of delicate work for this person. Again, this idea of sort of maybe baby steps that they're needing to take, just kind of gradually stepping out of that comfort zone. And so you may start to sense a shift in how they are kind of interacting with you, if you're still in contact with this person, or even sensing kind of an influx of their energy, sort of testing the waters, reaching out, stepping beyond that comfort zone in subtle ways. And they're wanting you to really trust in this process. Trust in what you are feeling energetically and from the heart space. Trust in the bond that you have. Trust that what you have felt and experienced with this person is real, despite what their kind of ego and their 3D self has done in terms of creating distance, or kind of moving away from this connection. Having this trust that this sort of phase or cycle you find yourselves in will be transcended, that this person is in this place of being very certain. They're coming into that certainty within themselves, of facing these emotions, accepting this gift of love that the divine has presented to them, answering the call of their heart to move in your direction, rather than continuing to kind of push this away or hold themselves back. And they also say, sometimes I psych myself out. So this can really talk about, again, that element of sort of fear, that, fear of being hurt again, fear of being vulnerable, a fear that if they expose their true heart to you, if they expose their soul to you, that you may reject them as others in the past have done. There is this urge, there is this drive, there is this desire to move towards you, to run towards you, to open up their heart, to let you in, to experience this beauty and this depth and intensity, to allow that to kind of carry them and transform them into whatever is meant to be out of this circumstance, and kind of possibilities that are beyond their imagining. And as much as they're leaning into this, they're wanting this, they're yearning for this, kind of these gatekeepers of fear, these sort of elements of hesitation then creep up and kind of pull them back into the comfort zone. This is a very necessary process. This is part of this person's growth, to recognize these things, see that wall of fear and walk through that anyway. Kick down that door of fear and move through that, move in the direction, allow their heart to lead the way rather than kind of the ego mind or even sort of the kind of tactile experience that they may have in their body about anxiety and kind of that tightness and that fear, this kind of very visceral sensation that is kind of causing them to step back into a space of wherever it is they feel comfortable, wherever it is that they feel less of that tightness, less of that anticipation. This is somebody who's in this process of kind of bypassing both of those elements and allowing the heart to lead them, perhaps for the first time, or this could be an endeavor of allowing their heart to lead them again as they had in the past. And maybe in the past that experience ended up in kind of heartbreak and devastation. So it's requiring trust on their part, trust that the past need not dictate the future, trust that this experience can be different, trust that they are a different person. They have grown. They have evolved, and trust that what they have to offer at this point in time, how they understand themselves, how they are able to honor their own needs, and the more they're coming into that understanding to be able to express these things, that it will yield different results than what they have experienced previously. Trust that this connection, this energy, this bond that they feel with you is different than what they have experienced with others. Coming into this space of not holding you accountable for the ways in which others were careless with their heart, or others were unprepared to receive the love they had to give, or others were operating out of distortion and shadow primarily, moving into the space of trust that what they are feeling for you is real, moving into that space of trust that this is worth investing in, it's worth exploring, and really trusting in the gift, the signal, the inclination that they have, that a lot of healing and evolution and growth and beauty can come out of this situation. They also say, I'm watching you. So they could be watching you on social media, watching you from afar, keeping an eye on you, definitely exploring their emotions, recognizing these feelings in a way that has not been conveyed to you, or that they could have really kind of pulled back from doing. They also are, again, just very much sensing this next level connection with you, trying to kind of see that and to explore that and to decipher what does that mean. Somebody who's feeling very kind of drawn in by this, very magnetized by this. This is not an out of sight, out of mind circumstance. This feels like somebody who has you on their mind quite often. Thoughts of this are never far from their mind. You occupy a space within their heart that has perhaps always been reserved for you. And it's something where now that they have a face and a name to put with that, it's providing so many explanations to almost this piece of themselves that they were unable to identify. They were unable to find kind of that match in physicality for what has always existed within them vibrationally. And now that they have encountered you, now that they have encountered this connection, it fits, it makes sense. There's again a face and a name to put with that sensation, that kind of treasure within themselves. They're also watching you to kind of to recognize and confirm for them that that what they are feeling is real, that who you are is it matches up with what has been presented, with what they are feeling. The more that they're doing this, the more that they are coming into this place of certainty that, again, these feelings are genuine, they are worth exploring, it is worth taking a chance, it is worth opening up to this situation, and also watching you for, again, maybe some kind of window of opportunity where in the past they had not acted. They had kind of chosen the route of fear to kind of pull back into that comfort zone, watching for an opportunity or a time where they can either kind of reemerge in your life, or if this is somebody that you are still in contact with to some degree, kind of watching for even signs or an inclination, or just, you know, watching for that place where the two of you energetically are touching and you're so in sync vibrationally that you know, it's the optimal conditions to then express these feelings, to express this truth, to open the door to a deeper experience of love and connection between the two of you. So I'm going to get some initials for you now, group 3. This can be first, middle, or last name of you or this person, or it could spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. Got A, Z, G, N, B, R, W, V, L, D, and S. So those are your messages, group 3. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. When you do that, it helps the video reach others who might resonate with these messages, get some kind of peace or confirmation from this reading. And it also helps my channel to grow, so I deeply appreciate that. If you would like a personal reading, I offer them through my Etsy shop, and there's a link in the description box of the video for that. I also sell handmade jewelry in my Etsy shop if you are interested in checking that out as well. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well.